So who wants to be nominated to lead the meeting?
I can lead if you want.
Okay, so I move that we nominate Dawn Fontaine to lead this meeting.
A 1 hour. I have a 1 hour designation.
Okay.
Okay, now
Somebody second that, and then you discuss it and pass it somehow.
Isn't waiting for somebody to second it.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any concerns with Dawn leading the meeting?
None at all.
Okay, so I think we can get started.
You can do it.
We have a quorum. And Ellie sent over the minutes from the November 2nd meeting. So any changes to those? Everybody had a chance to review? Okay, all right. I'm going to assume that we can move on and the minutes are accepted from the November meeting. Next is the financial report, which Justin has shared. A lot of information here.
So we're still on track where we would expect to be with our municipal account statuses, given where we are in the fiscal year. And there's not a whole lot of movement in the trustee accounts since the last meeting, except for the Friends. You know, the income from the auction is in that they wrote us a check that's in the building donations with interest now. So that brings that balance up to 38,300, and we got our first of two disbursements from the MBLC for our LIG MEG grant, and that was 8,273.90.
Justin, the donations and the building donations, is that 12,900? Is that mostly from the auction?
Yes, or around 10,000 of it, I think is.
Okay, and the other were just general donations?
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay.
So are you going to chat about your conversation with the treasurer about the
Oh, I've got that
interest
down on like new business later on.
Okay, all right, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Or do I? Okay, no, maybe I didn't put that anywhere else in the agenda. I said it's in an email, I guess. Okay, yeah. So I was chatting with Cheryl about maximizing our interest-bearing building funds returns, because it was a ball that Ellie got rolling, because she had asked some questions a while back, and Jean had referred to a lot of Mass General laws, you know, trying to justify why we can't invest the interest-bearing building fund with Bartholomew, which is where our R.S. Douglas money is invested, because that earns a lot more interest than everything else. And especially right now, our interest-bearing building fund is earning crap for interest, because everything is earning crap for interest.
Right.
So Cheryl did reach out. Right now, our money is, I think, what is it? A 0.1. We're getting 0.1% with the money that is in the interest-bearing building fund. Cheryl reached out and said that she could deposit it at Hometown Bank for 0.15%. But that is, marginally better. I mean, it's better, but it's not massively better. But one thing she did mention is that if we're not planning on using this money for a long time, part of the building with interest funds could be put in a certificate of deposit. So what she suggested was putting 38,000 in a CD for 10 months, which would earn 0.4%, and then just put the remainder, because it has to be done in certain denominations, in a new account at Hometown Bank, which will earn 0.5% more interest than they're earning right now at MMDT.
Wow, so it's still well under 1%.
Yep.
Okay.
I wish my student loan interest rates were there. That would be awesome.
I have my accountant is, he's also a lawyer, and he also served as the treasurer of the Southbridge Public Library, Jacob Edwards Public Library. And I never did get it because I had Thanksgiving. So I got sidetracked with all of that. And I thought of it yesterday, and I said, oh, I got to call Gary today and ask him, because I just, I'm really concerned that we earned a whopping $6.44. It just drives me up a wall that this is happening. And I know that I've been a pain in the butt for years arguing about this. And we used to get a lot of money for stuff because we were managing it ourselves, but that's a little dangerous. Luckily, we're all honest, or we were all honest before. I'm not sure about everybody here. And they, and we did invest it in a mutual fund or something like that. I don't know what it was, but and did make a lot of money on it. But we felt that that was being irresponsible, because we could time have somebody that was a little sketchy on the board and not protect that money and run off to Vegas with it or something. I don't know. So that it's just safer to have it in the town's hands. I just still am concerned that we're making such little interest. Now, the stuff that Justin sent me from the financial director, one of the laws said, if it's going to earn interest, it must be put into a fund that's earning the top amount of interest possible. And apparently it's not, so, and that's because the Bartholomew stuff, that seems to be limited to the reserve fund, which is our rainy day fund. And there's a few million in that, and they make big bucks. And some scholarship money that was, left in memory of people, and some cemetery money is there as well. And the $10,000 trust to the library is also in there, because the $10,000 is specifically identified as that. So that's why that is there, that they're allowing it to be in that fund. But so I'll make it my goal to talk to Gary and email everybody what I find out from him. I may have already asked him all of this too, maybe 5 years ago or something like that, but I can't remember. He'll remind me. But he's pretty savvy about all of this type of stuff. It will give me the right wording to present it.
Well, we used to have CDs and they made us get them all out.
Yeah, well, that's because we were managing it ourselves, Betty. It wasn't, it was, we were making that decision, and whoever the treasurer was, like Ramona, she was an honest lady, and she, you know, would earn a lot of money through, but that's 0.1% is what we're getting for the friends at the checking account at Unibank, you know, and that's what Unibank pays for, you know, just stupid stuff. But, you know, I wish there was a way that and maybe I'll just have a chat with the town administrator to see if, because he told me that if I wanted something put into, which I give money to the library every year, and I always put in it that it has to be put into an interest-bearing account. And he told me to do that. So I did. So maybe he has another recommendation now. So why don't we hold off before we get a CD? But I like that idea better than 1%, 0.1%.
Mhm.
Okay, so do we want to not take action on that?
Yeah, let me just find out. I'll put in the notes that I'll check with Gary Bridgman.
Okay.
Anything
we-
else about the finances before?
No.
Yeah, I mean, look at that, $44.21 interest for the $10,000. And what do we have from the interest up and down? Where is this? Can you move this down or, yeah, for the, what building with interest? We
$6.
have 38,000 in there and we only get $6. You know, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
A quarter of that. Okay. Okay, so we should be able to move to the director's report, right?
So the Mass Humanities and the Douglas Cultural
Mhm.
Council have both declined to fund museum passes for next year. I don't think it's worth pursuing further at this point, and I don't think that it's worth, you know, investing our own operational funds in. It was something I was hoping we could offer next year because there was a lot of talk about museum passes, and we're still getting more requests than we did a long time ago. But I mean, it still would not be cost effective unless it was paid for with a grant or something. The Friends have paid for them in the past, but I think that the Friends money right now is much better, you know, it's being put to better use, increasing the capital campaign.
Justin, this probably won't go anywhere, but is it like a dollar figure that you can assign to something? I'm just wondering if someone from the general public, if there was a sign in the library or something like that that said we're looking, you know, for donations or someone to fund the museum passes for $100 or whatever it is, would that be, or is it too complicated to do something like that?
The prices are high.
Mm,
For these museum passes. And if a person was going to donate money to the library, then I would probably prefer them donate it for something
it's a
else.
building fund. Yeah.
I just thought that, you know, the grants giving institutions might be a way to, you know, sort of bring this back, as long as it wasn't too burdensome on, you know, our budget as it already stands. But, you know, another thing is that, you know, a lot of the requests have died down in the most recent months. I know it's holiday season and not a lot of people do museum passes this time of year, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was worth a shot, but it didn't land. And I don't want to, you know, it's something I would have been happy to do if a grant paid for it, but without that, then I wouldn't put our money towards the museum passes, because it's too much too much buck for too little bang.
Are there any passes that are free?
No, not anymore.
So the mass, the one to the, whatever it is, the
So the State
reservations.
Parks Pass is free. That one is free. I don't
Okay.
even count that as a museum pass. 'cause
So
it's-
do we advertise that to people that they know about it?
the State Parks Pass gets a lot of use because it's, a pass that you can hang in your window and get free parking. The other museum passes never got as much use because they don't give you they don't give the patron something for free. They give the patron a discount, and the discounts are kind of not worth it unless it gets used a lot and unless the patron uses it a lot. And I wrote a newspaper article a couple years ago about how if you buy an annual family member pass to the Ecotarium, you can visit the Ecotarium and then visit the Boston Museum of Science, and you will have already spent less money than you would have if you had borrowed the library pass to take a family of 4 to those 2 places.
Mhm.
And then you get to use it all year round. So that's one of the reasons I haven't done museum passes for the past few years.
Yeah, I mean, but is there a way that just as providing information to the public that, you could send out a blurb occasionally, like on Facebook or in your newsletter about the state park pass and remind people that they can get it, as well as I think, doesn't the art museum at Worcester Art Museum have a deal in the summer or something like that, or it's free Saturdays, or I've read that in occasionally in in the newspaper.
Yeah, I think it's like free family Fridays or something like that. And there's lots of museums were doing that before the pandemic.
Mhm.
And we had flyers up for it whenever it was happening. I don't think I ever put it in the newsletter though.
Yeah. Well, it might be good just to, remind people, and this is you providing information, which libraries do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So in other news, Dick Vandenberg is going to move his history talk online. There hasn't been enough physical attendees to justify continuing an in-person program. And he could make the content better if he was recording it for online presentation rather than presenting it, in person, then having cable record it on a camera. Right now, Deb is planning winter story time to use the same guidelines as fall story time. 2 weeks ago, I was talking about, dropping mask mandates, making it optional, increasing group sizes. But, recent trends and the emergence of the Omicron variant has, really sort of given us an about face on that. So we're back to just planning next winter is the same as the fall was. Kids can come. We limit the program to a handful of families. We require them to wear masks, and that is that. I don't know what the winter's going to hold in terms of the virus yet. None of us do. It was kind of behind all of our radars, but we surpassed the number of statewide hospitalizations that led us to a second shutdown last year. But the death count has not been climbing, so I'm hoping it won't be as bad. But you never know. I would, if cases do continue to rise though, and if Omicron variant becomes basically, if the situation starts to get, as dicey as it was last winter, I would like to start making masks mandatory in the building for all visitors. Right now, it's, we've got a sign saying if you're not vaccinated, you have to wear a mask. If you are, it is optional. If we end up going into another winter like last winter, I'd rather just make it mandatory for everybody.
Mhm. Yep, that makes sense.
There are no objections to that.
No.
But I mean, as long as I can get away with it, I'm just going to make it optional for vaccinated and leave things the way they are. I just want to be ready. The new public laptops have been set up, they're configured, they're ready to go.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for CWMRs to create me a new item modifier. These are going to be circulated as an equipment type with a 2-hour loan period. And I got the email from John that was set up literally about 5 minutes before this meeting started. So by the end of the week, we will be using those instead of our current PC setups. And all of our patrons agree that this is they can't wait.
Good. So
We-
remind me, Justin, the old computers are not going away, or are they?
I'm going to tuck them away. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to work a couple of them into just public access only catalog computers, and then find a way to kind of mount them up somewhere so that there'll be, a way for people to just walk up, search the catalog without having to log in or anything like that, or check out a machine. Because I don't want someone to have to check out a laptop to search the catalog. I've never noticed, but patrons never come in and ask for a catalog. They just come in and ask the librarian,
Yeah, right.
can you help me find this? Can you help me find that? But since I've worked here, we've never had a public access catalog up. So I don't know if people would use it if it was there. So I'm going to try to make one and see if they do.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think there used to be one in the room with the DVDs, and people would look up books all the time.
Yeah, when I came, that was just a regular computer, because there was one in the adult room, one in the children's room. And neither one of them were dedicated OPACs. But they probably were at one point, because at one point the building didn't have internet access, and all they were at catalog computers.
Do other libraries not have a public access catalog?
Most do that I've been in. It's just we haven't since I started, and it's not something I've ever really thought about. And I'm not sure it will get used, because most people just come in and they'd rather ask. But if it does, that would be cool.
I think it's a great idea.
I do too.
And I didn't prepare a circulation report for this month, because we had a meeting in November already where we went over October's circs. So I did a holdings report instead. I don't have to read all this. The salient points are, the collection is, 21,000 items and worth almost $500,000 almost. We've got vastly more books than anything else. We've got vastly more adult items than anything else. And I thought what was interesting, just kind of looking at a snapshot of the collection, we've got 20,855 items on our shelves, 1,160 checked out, 199 overdue or lost, 103 in transit, 74 on hold shelves throughout the Commonwealth. 49 have been recently returned, which means they were checked in here at Douglas within the last 24 hours. That status means, it might not be shelved yet. We've got 25 new books in process, 19 books missing, 18 marked for library use only, and 2 were lost and paid, which means that they were recently lost, paid for, and it hasn't quite cleared the system yet. Our physical collection is smaller than it has ever been, but after the reorganization, the recataloging process, it's primed and it's kind of ready to grow. And I want to go about growing it, especially media, because I want to start changing the way we store DVDs to put them in boxes that you can file through instead of just having them all stacked like shelves. It's not very space efficient. And once we've got space, then I don't mind it not being so cramped. Right now, we've had to weed a lot of DVDs just because they were starting to take over the library, and people were coming in saying, do you really do books anymore? So, I kind of took that personally. So the media collection, it got hit the hardest in the latest round of, weedings and trying to get the collection under control. But now I'm hoping we can grow. The attic is almost empty, so there's room to move, not moving titles that we want to keep up there, as long as we have, spry people willing to go through the door. So we won't have to weed a lot for the next couple of years, I don't think. We are set to have an organically growing collection that's growing into its, nooks and crannies without exploding, as long as we just don't go crazy. The other thing I wanted to point out was the difference that our Advantage, even though they're not physical items, the licenses that we own in Libby in Overdrive are things that we offer. So they count as materials. And so, especially like with the Advantage cost per circ, where I can enable every license that's below $4, if you look at the CWMR's shared collection, like the default of what libraries have access to in CWMRs in Overdrive, it's 70,000 ebooks. If you're a Douglas resident, then you have access to 412,000 ebooks because of all of those cost per circ titles. Granted, more is not always better because, CWMRs buys the big hitting, big budget, really expensive licenses that expire really fast. Whereas I enable cost per circ on anything that's like $4 or less a circ. And a lot of that is, fluff. It's fluff. But, that's still reading, and people are using the fluff. In the last 90 days, 1,362 of our 3,022 Libby circulations came from our Overdrive Advantage collection. So not quite half, but bumping up on half. So I think that money is it's going well to a good place, making this many additional titles available for ebooks and audiobooks, and for the amount of use.
On the ebook, you obviously didn't, for $4 a fluff, purchase these, but you have access to them, right? The 412,000. And so the book that we just, or I've read, Betty probably hasn't, but Woods Woman, for the next book discussion for intrepid readers, was one that you were able to select out of the 412. So I could listen to it, right?
Yep.
Okay, but will that go away now after we have our book discussion? Although I told everybody who came to my Thanksgiving to please read it.
I won't make it go immediately. What I do every now and then, because the cost per circ licenses change price sometimes. So like something might be 99 cents a circ, and then it gets popular again, and then they up it to like, $5.50 a circ. Once a week, I add everything in that is $4 or less, just to make sure that those licenses are enabled. And once a month, I go through and check to weed out anything that's in our collection that has gone over $4. Woods Woman was over $4, but I enabled it because it was the book club book, and we didn't think we were going to be able.
And I would have had to read it, and I like to listen to it. So
I won't disable that one yet. I'm listening to it too.
Oh, are you? Huh.
I am.
It's pretty good.
It is. And I'm reading Hogfather, which is a riot. I've never laughed so much in a book.
What's that? Is that a science fiction?
It's more like a fantasy.
Yeah. Okay.
The Grim Reaper's filling in for Santa Claus because an assassin is trying to make everyone stop believing in him. That's the Animat Director's report.
Okay. All right, so we're moving on to old business.
Old.
Yes. Building projects, not much, right? But handicapped access, not much.
Nothing new to report there.
Yeah, electrical and plastering.
The
Emotion.
electrical systems is done. That piece is finished. Morissette completed the work that was in the scope of 2020's Fall Town Meeting repair article. So outlets have been installed on either side of the front door. The emergency lights are now properly wired. And if you're in the children's room in the basement looking at the back door, there's actually a glowing red exit sign now instead of like the one that
Nice.
we had before. So they finished that up as soon as they invoice us and we pay it. I think that will drain the account and then be like an extra $12 on top of that.
Okay.
And then we're done. We're in compliance with electrical code. Woo! Regarding interior plastering, this has been a long drawn out affair of trying to get quotes and whatnot. We still do not have a written quote from Morissette Electric. We only have verbal, but based on their $8,000 quote for the doing the electrical piece and CertaPro's quote for doing all of the plastering work, Adam Furno and I both agree that that's kind of the clear choice of combination moving forward. Danielle's been involved in some of these conversations as the chair. She's also agrees that that's the best way to go. I gave Straight Edge Plastering a deadline of last Monday to either give me a quote or we were going to move forward without them, and they didn't give me a quote. CertaPro and Morissette have their quotes in. Brian LaValle was the first one to give us a quote, and as much as it pains me to say that he's out of the running, his quote was too expensive. It was over $50,000, and it would have triggered, more stuff, more, things, capital things. And a fourth contractor, Brian Melanson, came in to do a quote, but he only quoted doing the drywall. So we would have had to have done the electric separately. We would have had to have had plastic. Somehow we would have had to have plasticked up the walls ourselves, or else Adam was saying someone would have to be hired to do it. They would come in, drywall, leave, and then we would have to hire a painter, which would mean staging again. That was not going to work out. So right now we're waiting on Morissette's written quote. Then Adam wants to have like a pre-construction meeting once that is in. And from there, just move forward, do the scheduling, and try to get it done.
So is Danielle going to sit in on that meeting, I hope? I think a trustee
I would
should.
just invite all the trustees to that meeting if that's not part of the next trustee meeting.
Okay.
But yeah, it's something.
And now I remember you talking about CertaPro saying that library would close for a month.
Yeah, I don't know how long we're going to have to be closed. I've got to talk to them about, staging and what's possible.
Because what happens to, do you just lay off your staff and yourself, or what? You're not working?
It would be an unwilling leave of absence from the building. So according to bylaw, we would still, pay them and basically try to come up with stuff for them to do. It'd be kind of a very similar situation to what we had during the pandemic. But I'm hoping that staff will still be able to report to the building. And, once I've got a better idea of, because we don't know yet whether we're going to have to move all of the books in the shelves. It's possible we're going to have to do that. And if we have to do that, there'll be plenty for staff to do. There'll be plenty for us to do. And but if not, then a lot of it's going to get covered up with plastic, visqueen, sealed off, and I don't know how easy it'll be to access. But I mean, I want to keep up as much access as we can, even if that's just delivery and curbside, and limited to portions of our collection at a time. I don't know how that's going to suss out yet. It'll have to be, that's another reason we need to have, a good pre-construction meeting with Adam and, the contractors and everybody involved, so we can figure out how this is going to work instead of just how much it's going to cost.
Yeah, because I can see paying your full-time people, but, pages, I don't see that.
Yeah, I think that only applies to full-time benefited employees.
Yeah, that's probably part of the conversation too, right? What's the minimum amount of time that you can be closed, or perhaps a section of the library is closed, not the whole thing, right? Those kind of things would be in that pre-construction meeting, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, do you want to move to the attic door, which is a headache?
Nothing new to report there.
Okay. All right, grants and the capital campaign. 28.9%.
Yeah, so the inside the quote, CertaPro has a clause saying the goal is to minimize the potential of putting books out of order and keeping the shelves in good working order. They just say the books in the middle of the room need to be moved in order to safely set up staging. So we'll have to see, and we'll have to figure out whether they'll let us run around under their staging while it's up. That'll determine stuff, but I'm hoping we'll be able to do it without completely shutting down. Maybe, I don't know yet. That's why we'll have to have a meeting.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So anyway, sorry, grants. After the auction winnings or earnings were deposited, that brought our interest-bearing building donations account up to $38,000, which brings our total goal, or our total capital campaign money, up to $115,726, which is 28.9% of the way to our goal.
Okay. Okay, do we need to go over, move to the LIG MEG?
Yep. And other, our first LIG MEG check came. It's $8,273.90. I would just float the idea out there of reserving it for the capital campaign, and because that would move our ticker along to 31%. We don't have any other urgent needs, and if we did that, we would still have $16,640 of liquid assets in that account. We have $6,000 liquid in donation and $2,000 in the Carrick Fund, which is unrestricted. So, and we'll be getting another $8,000 grant dispersal before the end of the fiscal year.
Okay, so we should discuss that and vote on it.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm for it as well.
So I'll move that we take $8,273.90 from the LIG MEG fund and reserve it, not spend it, or just reserve it for the building fund.
Seconded.
I have to object again. I don't think that's the purpose of the grant, and I think we should keep it so we can use it. Maybe the attic door, something that we might need before the whole building project gets done.
If
Yeah,
I
but-
understand how Ellie worded it, it wouldn't be, spending it. It would still be available to be transferred back should that sort of thing occur.
And we haven't gotten any further along on the attic door. I agree with you, Betty. I'd love that attic door fixed, but until we get a quote of something, we can't really do anything. And it would still be in the building fund, not the one with interest. It would just be in the building fund. And so we could unreserve it back to.
Well, the money won't
use it for
actually
this.
move to a different account. It'll stay in the
Right.
LIG account. It'll just kind of be grayed out whenever we're talking about money we have. We'll just pretend that that's not there.
Yeah, but it's not really money that we raised for the building fund.
What do you
Like
mean?
the Friends money got raised for the building fund, the auction, the book sale, that, this didn't get raised for the building fund.
No, but it's not restricted by state law or anything. It's for anything that, you could pay staff salaries with LIGMEG. You could use it to buy books. You could, and we've done that in the past, which I never approved of, but so there's a lot of operating things happening at the library from the operating budget, and that we've spent LIGMEG money on. And I don't approve of that necessarily unless it's an emergency type of thing. But I think it's unrestricted, as Justin has said. These library incentive grants and municipal equalization grants that we get from the state. You can do anything you want with it.
Mhm.
Trustees can do anything they want with it.
Every year.
And I respect Betty's opinion. So, if you disagree, that's fine. It may get voted down. So.
Nick or Dana, any thoughts on it?
I mean, it just seems like an accounting move to me, so I wouldn't object to it.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I have a strong opinion either way.
I think it's always nice to show momentum on that. What are we calling it? Capital campaign, building fund, whatever we want to call it.
We've only been waiting over 20 years for this. Yeah, I certainly would, I just want to get over this. I want accessibility for the library.
Mhm.
I want more. I want accessibility and more.
All right. So I don't know if
Did anybody second it, the motion?
I seconded it.
Oh, good, thank you.
So do we want to move to a vote or more discussion?
Vote.
Okay. All right, all in favor of moving the 8,273.90 to the capital fund, capital campaign,
Or building account, to the building account.
building, yeah,
Reserving it
donation.
reserving it for the building account.
Okay, so all in favor? Who, I guess the question is, who is in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm opposed.
Okay.
Okay.
4 yes, 1 no. Okay.
Okay, so that can go ahead and move, it sounds like. Justin, do you want to move to the proposed action plan document? Do we need to open that up? Sorry.
They don't like that idea, Dawn.
No, they seem to be very vocal on these
To
meetings.
the MPLC tomorrow.
Yes, they're saying.
So action plans are due to the MBLC tomorrow, and they are a prerequisite for LSTA grant applications, and the deadline for putting in a letter of inquiry for those is the day after tomorrow. So this is a perfect day to look at, and this is hopefully approved. This file is not supported.
We'll try oh, you don't have it as a PDF? It's probably.
Yeah, I'm using the Chromebook.
Mm.
Oh, well, that's weird. I wonder if I can open it in Google Docs. New document. Way to open.
Where are the chickens?
All right, there we go. And it doesn't even look crazy. That's awesome. Okay, so this is my proposed action plan for the next fiscal year, starting in June, or starting in July and going into June of the following year. And, I think this is kind of silly, but the MBLC asked it for us. And so since I'm applying for grants kind of seriously this year, I used their format and their thing here. So under objective, you'll find its number, letter, and subheading in our strategic plan, if it's relevant to a strategic plan objective, and then, action, time frame, and by whom. So basically, goal 1 is reestablish and exceed pre-COVID levels of programming by recommencing weekly afternoon movie programs for teens, hopefully in the summer and fall of next year, and establish a monthly film club in the summer and fall of next year. Develop staff and operations. I would like to, starting next fiscal year, offer individual or institutional memberships to ALA, MLA, and NELA, and encourage people to attend their conferences and workshops and things. Because the staff does seem like to be energized whenever they go to a meeting or a workshop with other professionals in the field. And I think that would be worth it, as well as getting their publications. And I'd also like to create a procedure manual for running the library that will help maintain consistency and continuity. When I started here, there was nothing. Anne had showed Deb how to do the books right on our way out the door. But, other than that, running the library is kind of all in our heads. Me, Gail, Deb, Rebecca know it, and, we get it done. But like, there's no, like opening and closing policies and procedures. There's no, written document on how to, update and work the computers. So if I'm out, then it just doesn't get done. And, so on and so forth with the things that Gail does. So I would like to get some kind of manual put together, so that, when we do have staff turnover, then there will be a bridge, basically a book they can read on how to run the library. We did find one from the 1930s, which is pretty awesome, but it's not relevant anymore.
Oh my God, that's funny.
That's a great idea.
Try to implement the 1930s.
And others, I would like to make an action goal to pass the halfway point of our capital campaign next fiscal year by any means necessary. Just
Any
$1,000.
legal means necessary.
No, I'm, explore alternative cash strategies. And maintaining an openness to alternative strategies for AD compliance and library improvement, take opportunities for incremental improvements when they come available, which has kind of been, strategy so far. It's kind of, a fancy way of putting in a bullet of, do what makes sense. And my last goal is just increase circulation and attendance. I'd like to roll out what did I even write here? Oh, round out collection post reclassification project to maximize up-to-date appeal across age groups and format preference. So now that we've got the the juvenile and the easy reader stuff separate from each other, find out what's missing in each place, make sure that no matter what age you are, you want to read about engineering, that there's something for you. And make sure that our collections are up to date. Make them appeal to people. Basically, just engage in good collection and development. And another action I've proposed for the winter of 2022 is to replace the tables and chairs to make spending time in the library more comfortable and appealing. Our furniture is old and it's very pretty, but it's bigger than it needs to be and it's old. And I feel bad for the people who sit in those benches whenever y'all are having intrepid readers, because they're not pleasant to sit on. So I think next fiscal year might be time to explore some options and just getting better tables and seating for patrons to hang out in, and hopefully by then we can be inviting people in to hang out more, because that's something about the library that we miss.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's someone who may possibly be willing to donate a portion of the tables and chairs. A furniture company that's local, who, if we even had like their name on something or it was well publicized that they donated. But I think
I sort of feel I was sort of, some of the stuff here is pretty pricey.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the furniture, but the membership at the ALA, Mass Library Association, and New England Library Association. I think you have to sort of pick and choose which one, or at least tell us how much this type of stuff costs before putting it in. Just doing, or for us to say, yeah, go for it, but sending the staff to Mass Library Association conference meetings, if they still have them, is worth it. New England Library Association, I don't know, maybe one or something like that. And
they do a joint.
ALA, you would be the only one. I don't think I've been to one in Boston, and that's it for ALA, and that's American Library Association. But they're exciting, but just go to the exhibits in ALA if it ever comes to Boston again,
Oh, is that expensive? I have no idea how much.
Yeah. Well, not going to the exhibits isn't, but
Right.
Actually going to do a registration with American Library Association is very expensive. And New England Library Association, that's pretty good, but it's held all over New England. It could be in Maine or Vermont or something, and then you have to spend money on housing them at a hotel and stuff like that, which is great, but it's I definitely would just start, local, the Mass Library Association, try to get them there and not think beyond that, and also encourage them to do whatever library meetings are happening in the state and the Mass Library, whatever it's called now, is, they have programs all the time which, and you should encourage the staff to go to those ones. And we should be paying for mileage and whatever registration. And, if they have to, instead of bringing a sandwich to the meeting, that they can actually go out to eat with these people, which is, interact with them. But it's, these ones are pretty high powered, and that's a lot to do. I mean, I can see you going to it, but all three of them, but
I probably wouldn't send everyone to a conference, but there's lots of freebies throughout the
Yeah.
year.
well, yeah. And then really tell them, encourage them for that, or say that the trustees want it, us, them to go to it, and
For access to the freebies, though, you just have to be a member of the MLA. So you've got like the annual membership fee, and then you've got the conference fee, which is more.
Yeah.
You can get an institutional membership, I think, with MLA and NELA that's joint. I know MLA and NELA, like if you register to join the MLA, then you can, tack on $20 and be registered for NELA too, and be a member of both. ALA is a bit more
pricey.
I don't know.
That's American.
I never was a member of MLA. I mean, ALA. But, anyway, I mean, I don't mean to say, well, if I wasn't, then nobody else can be, but it's, I think
about it extensively in fall of 2022, because that's the time frame for the activity.
Yeah.
Or we
But,
could do it sooner and say we did it then. That's what I don't like about
but there are, I mean, that used to be, we used to be in the Central Mass Regional Library System. It's not called that anymore. I don't know what it's called anymore, and they were ones that would sponsor, and that's state run. And they were the ones
That's
that paid.
the MLS now.
What?
That's
What's it
the
called?
because the Western Massachusetts Regional Library System and the Central Massachusetts Regional Library Systems combined to just form the Massachusetts Library System.
Libraries. Yeah, okay. And they create programs that you don't have to belong to the Mass Library Association to go to.
They get repetitive though. We've done all those programs.
Well, they just got to grow up. I mean, they have to create other things or request things that do they have, like, for instance, children's librarians meeting about new programs that everybody could share or not share, say, yeah, this is a good program. The person who does it is reasonable. And I just read about one in somewhere, I don't know where, if it was in the newspaper or online or something like that. It was this magician that lives in Manchog, and I thought, that would be a nifty thing to have during a school vacation week or something. Or not coming from us, because we're not the library experts. The librarians in the field and you are the experts on communicating what's available to the staff and what you want them to do, so I don't want us to play overlord and whatever fantasy we try to do, but but still. So anyway, I just said cost associated with the action plan would be nice, but I'm sure you'll come to us with it as the time approaches.
Yeah, I'm not just gonna go buy, spend $2,000 on an institutional ALA membership for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
But does this work is an action plan for overall the next fiscal year?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm just take ALA out of here.
Yeah. Do you want I don't think I have any edits for this, Justin, but has this been submitted or are you open to things?
Yeah, I'm open to anything. Like, ultimately, I don't put a whole lot of stock in these.
Yeah.
It's nice to have, and maybe I should, because it was nice to look back on the one that we did last year and say, oh, well, we met that goal, or we did not meet that goal, or we did, or we didn't.
Yeah, yeah. And you forget how much time goes by, so it's good to like have dates and stuff. The film club, I know there was talk like downstairs was set up pretty easily with a projector and so forth. Is that something that can easily be done without purchasing anything, or where is
Yeah, we have
that?
everything we need. We were doing weekly.
Okay.
We were doing the weekly movie programs for teens before the pandemic hit.
Okay.
We got like a popcorn machine and everything.
Yeah.
But the pandemic put a stop to all that. We've had trouble getting like an adult film club off the ground, but I would like to. Just got to find the right, itch to scratch, I guess, in terms of what people are willing to come see whenever the time is right to do that kind of thing again.
Okay. Yeah, I have no other suggestions then.
So this is part of the long range plan?
I tied it to the long range plan with
Yeah.
the little numbers over here, because these are actually goals we have in our long range plan.
Okay.
So yeah, it does.
Okay, so then you would, since I tend to put it in the agenda every month, you could look at this every month.
Mhm.
Although, as far as according for the MBLC's purposes, this doesn't start until July.
Okay.
So we're not allowed to work on any of this before July.
Okay.
Give me a break.
Can we vote to approve it so I can submit it tomorrow?
Are you ready to go to a vote on submitting the action plan for fiscal year 2023? I can, so moved.
So is this, what did you say, support or what do we?
Support.
Yeah, support. Action plan for fiscal 2023. I'll second it.
Those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. Okay, so then we're moving to the Friends and the auction, I believe.
The auction brought in, I think, whatever Justin said it did. I wrote a check, I think, for about $9,000 or something like that. But that also included, we had a donation, the Friends had a donation from the estate of a woman I presume is no longer living, who lived down on Orange Street for $2,000. So we, that was very nice, and we put it in the building fund with interest. So that was on top of, or included in that check, but it also included, the auction also included money that we had gotten before, like $1,000 from Louis Tessino. And that wasn't, I didn't have that in that final check that I wrote to Justin, that had already been given over to the interest-bearing account. So, and I think what I did was about $9,000, but it could have been more than that. It was less than $10,000, the last check that I wrote. And that include the $2,000 that we received in the estate of this woman.
Ellie, I think we touched on this a little bit on our last meeting, but there were like a few takeaways from that
Yeah.
separate meeting that was sort of a recap of the whole auction itself. And one takeaway that I had that I'd be willing to help with when the time comes is more publicity and making sure we get into the local newspapers. I'm not sure, what else, but Donna Metz, who had done a ton of work on it, was, really disappointed with what the possibilities were with some of the media around it. So obviously we're still going to be very local, but just making sure that, signage around town is as good as it can be, and that the 3 or 4 local newspapers are covering it and can do, maybe a little bit more on social media. I forget if there are a couple other things.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Another thing we had, and I never followed up on it, was that the gift baskets, which I liked, but I just got tied up with, family coming for Thanksgiving. So
Mhm.
I have no idea if we have anything hanging around still. Do you know, Justin, if we do, besides the ceramic horses?
Can take a look. There's still some stuff. There's not a lot of stuff, but there's a little bit of stuff.
Yeah, well, I think it's too late now. We'll just keep it for next year or something like that. And try it. And as the auction committee meets, which they start meeting probably in June or something like that, we'll have that idea of the gift basket for unsold stuff right before the holidays, before starting in early December or something like that. So the Friends, the next thing they do, and hopefully everybody's in agreement, is they send out their flyer to every EDDM, every door
direct mail.
Yeah. So that goes out in January sometime, and Justin usually writes something, and Carolyn Dorval will write something. She's the head of the Friends, the president of the Friends, and Kate puts it all together in a nice format, and then we mail it out. And we sort of average around $3,000 in membership fees. So that sort of helps on what, the stuff that we pay for, like the delivery services for paying for Gail to deliver the books and stuff. And the software that Justin uses for the newsletter and blah, 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 blah. So, and then the auction and anybody else that wants to donate to the Friends. We occasionally get these sort of, and I have to remember, I'm remembering now because I have to send the person a thank you note, but we just got a $100 donation through the PayPal link that we have on the Friends page.
Right.
That was very nice.
Excellent.
So that's it for Friends.
Okay.
Unless anybody wants to ask questions or tell me what to do, or what, which is fine,
I don't have anything else. So I think we can probably move to new business. One thing that I thought small thing to bring up was Kate's message just now for the meeting time. The reason she couldn't make it was because it's during work hours and she had a meeting she couldn't get out of. So I don't know any thoughts that people have if we want to meet a little later. For me, it's something like 5 o'clock would work really nicely. That work stuff wouldn't interfere generally. And if we're on a Zoom call, it's enough time to get to the meeting, so to speak.
That's okay with me.
Yeah, I don't know if we need to.
How is your schedule? You're not listening.
Who are you talking to? Ellie, I couldn't hear them.
Yeah.
Oh, I think he was nodding. I think he was nodding.
Oh,
Yeah.
he was? Was that a
Later,
nod?
later is much better for me. I mean, I would defer to Justin because I don't know, like, if he has to travel back home or after
Yeah.
meetings, before meetings, or whatever.
I'm
Um,
at the library until 8 o'clock.
Okay, yeah, 5 works for me. Well,
Early. So whenever.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay. Is that okay for you, Betty?
The later, the better.
Really? Wow. Okay. So let's just set the next meeting at 5 o'clock then.
Okay. Okay, and the other thing under new business was the director's review. Is that time again, Justin?
I reckon it is.
Okay, is that where we do the Google Doc and we all weigh in and Ellie compiles it?
We
No,
can
I
do-
don't compile it. Justin does it. He gets them all
Oh.
back and he compiles it, which is nice.
Oh, okay.
So will you do that again, Justin?
Sure. You want me to write out my review questions and send them out to you guys?
Yeah. You can fill out the forms for us too.
Scale of 1 to 10. Rate Justin's beard. I'll probably just copy and paste from last year because like I know that's from something Matt suggested and used. Or person, I don't know where that document came from. It's
It's what
very
the selectmen use for reviewing Matt. And I
Ah.
thought it was, that was a nice suggestion on his part, you know, that why not all the managers in town of, employed by the town, do have the same criteria to be judged by. And I think that's good, as opposed to, are you late coming to work? And we don't know if you are or not.
Yeah.
You know,
all right. Then I will get that survey made and sent out. By
so
the
that
end
we could actually have the end product done before our next meeting, so that we comply with, even though we're the only department, I think, that does it, you know, that we have it completed.
So what's our deadline for that?
It has to get back to Justin so that he can mush it all together in a final report and, you know, average whatever grades we give him, you know, if it's A+ or whatever. I don't know how
You'll have to
it's,
send me my reviews and then I have to doctor them up before I give them to me.
yeah. Yeah, so that has to be done before the next meeting. And
Okay.
And so I don't know what your time frame, Justin, for holiday stuff is for your you know, your family and everything. So you don't want to not be able to do it because of commitments that you have.
Oh, I want to compile my reports on Christmas Eve.
You want to do that on Christmas Eve because you have to stay up and be Santa?
But no, I'll get the survey out before the end of the week, and then as long as everyone takes it, you know, I'll send a deadline out of 2 weeks, you know, so that I have a week to compile. And
Okay.
it all of the survey results too, like are accessible. I can make them accessible. Just you know, in case anyone thinks I'm making stuff up.
No, that's all right. You seem like an honest guy.
Okay. All right, so the next meeting will be December 28th at 5. Will be okay with that? A few days after Christmas date?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, so I will move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay.
Ooh, somebody was using the chat window.
Yeah.